Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
She's the one who had intercourse with the devil on Goat's Mountain. He took her to his den in the disguise of a little donkey, a small one, and they were fornicating all night long. She's a witch! She's a witch!
This is episode 2017, recorded June 5th, 2024.
Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host Jeff Mohr and I will tackle another classic, or not so classic, film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. Let me introduce my crew, beginning with Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm outstanding in my field here in Iowa.
Outstanding in my field. That's a wonderful thing. Also joining us this week is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and all-around nice guy, and also a published author with the book called
Raum. R-A-U-M.
Spell it.
R-A-U-M. It's spelled just like it sounds. I could have come up with some of those fancy demon names and everything that are like really tough, but you know, then you got to go to the store and try to spell Mephistopheles, and you're getting it all wrong. And,
You spelled it wrong.
yeah, sorry, no book for you.
You're saying it wrong.
We just finished up North Carolinas last weekend, had a great time, and
Yay.
the summer has officially begun.
Yes, welcome to summer. Yes. All right. Also joining us tonight is Chad Hunt, comic book artist, co-host of Decades of Horror, the classic era and the 80s, and also a writer director in his own right, and a very funny guy. Chad, how you doing, sir?
I'm tired, I'm cranky, and I have no room for any BS tonight. So I'm just setting that out there in front of everybody.
Well, you picked the wrong
that was a
seat,
mistake.
sir. But welcome to the show. This should be fun. All right, we are here to review Mark of the Devil from 1970. This is a one that's been looming large on our to-do list, and been kind of circling it and avoiding it with great passion for many years. Anyway, so this is going to be a fun episode to dive into that. What we're going to do is start off by sharing when we first saw this film and what our first impressions were, and then we're going to discuss about the makings of the film, the cast behind it, and this has some stories, and then we'll wrap things up with some feedback. We have plenty of feedback tonight, right, Jeff?
We do have some feedback.
We do, and we
Some long ones.
love feedback. We love feedback, and we hope that you would provide some feedback
too.
Wow.
Says Chad all the time. All right. Before we get into everything, Jeff has something to say about Play Now Media.
Well, yeah, we are partnering with Play Now Media on some of their streaming channels, and in particular, Decades of Horror of the 1970s is on the Wicked Horror TV channel. You can subscribe to it for a modest monthly fee, or you can not pay a fee.
Yes.
Good. Chad, don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me, Chad.
I'm good.
Okay. But then you'll miss some of the premium content. But you can watch a whole lot of stuff, maybe 70, 80% with ads. So
worth it.
Anyway,
It's
you
still
like
good.
All right. Wonderful. In that case, let's take a look at the card and get things going. Shaboink. Mark of the Devil, 1970, directed by Michael Armstrong and Adrian Hoven, although he's uncredited. Written by Michael Armstrong as Sergio Kastner and Adrian Hoven as Percy Parker, both original story and screenplay. The cast includes Herbert Lom, Udo Kier, Olivera Katarina, Reggie Nalder, Herbert Fox, Gabby, Joanna
Wow.
Wazowski. Gabby's Fuchs, but Herbert is Fox. Michael May and Anna Berg Schoner. We'll just run with that and have a good time. Yay. Production company is Hi-Fi Stereo, 70 kg. Sounds like they're trying to sell me something. Kila Film Enterprises, distributed by Hallmark Releasing. not the Hallmark Channel. That would be a different film.
That would be-
Filming locations are Castle Moosham and Mottendorf, Salzburg, Austria. Excuse me. Krems, Lower Austria. Filming days are summer of 1969. I think somebody sung about that. And then release date was February 19th, 1970 in Germany, and April 5th, 1972 in the States. Synopsis is in the 1700s, Austria. A witch hunter's apprentice has doubts about the righteousness of witch hunting when he witnesses the brutality, injustice, falsehood, torture, and arbitrary killing that go with the job. Mutiny, I say. Mutiny. All right.
That picture was part of that.
Yes. Yes, it was. All right. Don't know where to go with that. Let's go round robin here and find out, when did we first see this film? What was our first impression? Does this film hold up today? Who picked this bad boy?
Me.
All right, Bill Mulligan, you are up first.
This is a long time coming. I first saw this film last week, but I had been thinking about it since, what year did it come out? 70? Oh, so when I was 10 years old, I heard about this film. Everybody heard about this film. It was the most violent film ever made. It was so gory, they had to give you a vomit bag. Can you imagine what possible sights could you see? Yes, that's the very vomit bag they would give you. And they wouldn't give you something like that unless it was necessary. I mean, it's got to cost them money. Yeah. The only thing we had to go on, because we're 10 years old and there is absolutely no way in hell any of us are going to go see this movie. We looked at the ads in the newspapers, which were in black and white. And in black and white, that scene with the girl with the thing in her mouth looks like her tongue's already been ripped out and she's just bleeding. And that's pretty much that. I mean, that image is the one they plastered everywhere because they had plausible deniability. No, she hasn't had her tongue ripped out yet. That's just a metal thing. Yeah. Well, in cheap ink, it looks like blood.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the most brilliantly marketed movies ever made. And now I finally got to see it, and I realize now it's not that bloody. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not it may be from Hallmark, but it's not going to be on the Hallmark channel. But there's certainly bloodier movies. But it still packs a punch. Yeah, it's cheap and everything, but this is based on reality. So things like this almost certainly did happen, maybe not to the extent that they claim in the opening crawl, but it did happen. So it's more real than other things. And terrible bad things happen to people who don't deserve it. The bad guys don't get the comeuppance they deserve. Good people suffer. It's a downer. Now, it's a lot like Witchfinder General, and it's clearly a ripoff of Witchfinder General. It made more money than that movie did, which tells you something.
Vomit bag.
Yeah, but that vomit bag is 100% genius. Whoever came up with that should have been given a 10% of the gross, because they turned what would have been just another kind of Euro trash, Just Franco-esque kind of thing into a monster hit. I mean, I'm not kidding you. We were talking about this all the time. This thing took over the playground at Saugerties.
Took over the playground.
That's right. So I'm glad I got to see it. It's a better film than I anticipated. It's good looking. It's well shot. Has great score. Strange score, kind of like a Cannibal Holocaust. Way too nice for what's going on here, but that's kind of cool.
It did.
And it's got a few of my favorite actors. So I was really pleasantly surprised that what I thought was just going to be an exploitation piece of crap turned out to be a pretty well-made piece of crap. It's definitely worth looking into. It's not pleasant, but I really enjoyed it. And this is usually not my kind of film. So why did I pick it? I had to scratch this itch. Had to kick this bucket.
Had to do it.
Yep.
So Bill gives it the polished turd award of 2024.
A soon to be torn off thumbs up. Yeah.
Oh no, soon to be torn off thumb. Oh, Chad Hunt. When did you first?
Where are those thumb screws?
That's right.
When did you first see this film? What was your first impression, and does it hold up today?
This is the first time I've seen it, and boy, did I hate this goddamn movie.
You hate it.
I hate this movie. It's first of all, I'm not a big fan of witch hunt movies. I don't, it's just not my cup of tea. Then you got Herbert Lom stinking up the joint, with his presence there. This movie to me exists for the sole purpose of showing torture and boobs and that kind of stuff. And which one of the two is not bad for me. Usually I don't mind, but
the torture.
I don't, it's just, the plot to me was just very, very thin. I did like Udo Kier though. I thought he was good in it. Very young Udo Kier, but
piercing blue eyes. Holy crap.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
very, very much. But for the most part, it was weird and unsettling, and not in a good way. It was just, I felt uncomfortable watching some of the scenes. Just if you're not getting raped, you're getting tortured. And and it's just, like I said, it's not my cup of tea. I don't like those kind of movies where, and then Herbert Lom just rides off and, without getting ran through with a sword or something, and just gets away with everything. And then your main character, he meets a grisly fate as well. And it was very much a downer. And I guess if I had watched this at 10 years old, maybe I would think better of it than watching it now. But there's too much stuff that I did not like, content wise. It is a beautifully shot film. And production wise, it's very, very, very nice, very good looking film. But, and the guy with the water dripping on his head, what's the deal with that guy? It was
the puppet guy.
Where he kept looking in on him, and he's just going, doing all this weird stuff. Was he going insane? Did he really have the devil in him somewhere? And the guy just kept looking in to see, and that was a weird thing. And it just no, I didn't care for it very much.
Didn't care for it much. Fair enough. Jeff, what did you make of Mark of the Devil, 1970?
What did I make of this? So, oh God, I'm gonna get just a little bit artsy fartsy here.
Oh shit.
I thought it was very uncomfortable too, but the reason it was uncomfortable to me is the fact that I don't know how to say this without sounding
just say it,
I guess. Well, it's what happens. It's what has happened throughout the history of mankind when people are given the power and the label of being right, so
in the name of God.
Yeah, you could. Well, in this one, it was God, but in Nazi Germany, I mean, draw the easy comparison, but all through history, whenever there's been something like that, where there is no justice, these guys just, if they didn't like you, if you looked at them funny, she's a witch. Write up an indictment. Make shit up. She mixes toad and frog blood together and drinks it, and then puts it in your food and makes everybody impotent and whatever. And then they torture them until they get them to admit that they're a witch, and then they burn them. So, and the guys that do it know they're doing it, even though they pretend. Some of them pretend a little more than the other ones. So that's what made me feel uncomfortable about it. Is it's like it's going on now, in different places in the world. It's just not called witchcraft, but wherever there's, when anyway. So yeah, so like they bring the one guy in. He's his father just died. He's a nobleman, and the church wants his land, so he's a witch. He's consorting. He's made a pact with the devil, and so if they kill him, then they get his land. And or
if he gives up the land, then he's not a devil.
Yeah, another woman was raped by the archbishop, and when she got pregnant, she's a witch. She seduced the archbishop, with her evil power. So that's just, they just said whatever the hell they wanted, and if if they got caught, then you're a witch and we get rid of you. So, and it is frustrating because the bad guy gets away. There are a couple of people that survive that we're glad they survived, but kind of wanted Udo to survive. I thought Herbert Lom was great in that role. He has this gravitas and steely look that just makes you.
Just don't mention impotence around him, though.
Yeah.
No, yeah, he really has a.
He has an issue. That's a trigger for him.
Yeah.
So
So anyway, I enjoyed it, and you know, for 1970, it doesn't have you know, even 80s style effects, because some of the time, like, they're whipping their feet and all they did was like paintbrush red streaks across their feet kind of thing. So they didn't do any work to make it, but other parts are pretty, that whole tongue thing and I'm going on, but this place was filmed in a castle that actually had all these old pieces of torture equipment there, and that's what they used. So anyway, what can I say?
Yep.
And I put Herbert Fuchs and Gabby Fuchs in there just to make Doc say him. Although Herbert Fuchs is like he's the executioner for Herbert Lom.
Yes.
And Gabby Fuchs is the blonde that we also saw in that picture there. So anyway, there's so many things to talk about on this. Why is there an uncredited director, the music, the characters? Anyway,
So you're saying this would be a good one to get the Blu-ray for?
Well, it's actually
it's on its way.
Vinegar Syndrome has a 4K UHD, right?
Oh,
3 discs, and one disc is just like interview after interview after interview after interview.
It's probably got the German cut and the U.S. cut, right? So,
it does have the German cut.
Yeah.
Oh, and as a matter of fact, I wanted to mention this before I go too far. I just noticed. Did you guys watch this on Prime?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah, you watched it on Tubi?
I watched it on Prime.
The Vinegar Syndrome one, I think, is a complete one. It's 97 minutes, and I noticed the one on Prime was 92 minutes.
Just 5 minutes.
So I don't know what's cut out, unless it sounds like you guys.
The Tubi one was an hour and 41 minutes.
That's interesting.
That's
so anyway, and it's very strange that it has this. It has like 40 seconds of black screen at the end. There's no the end. There's no credits. There's nothing. It just goes black screen. Anyway,
everything you witnessed here was true.
I'm done, Doc. Oh.
You done. Well, before I jump into this, we didn't get to do the AKAs, which have some fun names. Do you want to do that, Jeff, while you're up and out?
Sure. Let me pull them up.
Aka.
And some of them, I think, are on the posters that Bill did. I got to find them. All right. Well, the original title, because it was filmed in Germany, Hexen bis auf gequält, which means witches tortured till they bleed.
Fair enough. That is an apt description.
And in Belgium, bloedige Hexenjacht.
Yeah, now we can't hear him, but that's a bloody witch hunt. All right. So for me, this is one of those films that had that, legacy of being one of those, banned films. I mean, it literally was banned in the UK and Germany. And it's only one of 2 films that ever were banned and became unbanned. The other film being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And you can see why in 1970 that, and this was part of the what is it? The UK
Video Nasties.
Video Nasties. Yeah. So this one got seized at that point. So and of course we knew about the vomit bag, which somehow I have one.
Oh,
I have one of these the bags from it.
Was it used?
Well, no, it wasn't used.
A little crusty.
Those are cheaper.
Yeah. But so I'd never seen it, but never again. I kind of like Chad. The witch hunting movies are not the ones I go after first, definitely. And that are kind of like, okay, I'll watch it now. But so I've never watched it, so I was excited that we finally picked it. And I'm okay. So I was kind of surprised. I thought it was really well made. And I thought our two leads, I liked Herbert Lom in this, Chad. I mean, I get it. He is over the top, but
Yeah.
in the 70s, when was he not?
Exactly.
But at the same time, he had a presence and it fit the character, especially when they said the word impotence. But Udo Kier really, this is his second role, his second featured role. And man, he was a sharp looking young man. Yeah. I mean, I think that's well known, but it was kind of like, wow, the eyes are like,
yeah.
I don't know if I've seen piercing blue eyes as blue as that. It was pretty amazing. I don't know why I'm suddenly gaga over Udo Kier, but
he's in love.
I am. So in the end, I enjoying this film isn't the right word, because when it gets there are some parts of the torture that are part of the story, and for that it's not as offensive is too strong a word, but it's not as off-putting because it's part of the story. But then there's some other characters that have nothing to do with our main characters. They're just there to show off the torture, and those get a little uncomfortable. So I could see where this movie could have gotten its reputation back in the day. I'm not surprised by it.
Yeah.
I have, with the reputation preceding it, you would think it would be more to it. But at the same time, if I saw it in 1970, I think I would still be kind of shocked by it. Mm-hmm. So I think it holds up remarkably well. Yeah. I was surprised how, it didn't feel of its time. And part of that's because it's a period piece. It was really done well to capture that period. And now I know why. They actually shot in a castle that, would have been a part of this. So that's fascinating. It feels a bit hodgepodgey together, so it's slapped together in places. There's some really weird edits and cuts and choices on scene placement and orientation that really, like, suddenly there's a sex scene. I'm like, what am I watching? We're I don't know who these two people are, and they're going at it. Why? But then the story catches up with them. And makes sense. So
I wonder how much of that is because of, and I wish Jeff were here because he could talk better about it than I can, the problem with how many cooks were making this particular stew. Some of the characters, like, Chad mentioned, this guy who shows up and he's just sort of there and there's no point to it. How much of this was because the producer decided he could direct better than the director, and he had the ear of the DP, so they just did stuff.
Well, they were directing some scenes without any approval or people knowing. Is that right, Jeff?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, the what he said, Hoven and the DP were shooting stuff when the director wasn't around. It's very weird. There was an interview with Michael Armstrong, and he said everything that's in the finished film is familiar to him. He thinks he directed it. Then when they went through all these interviews with all the people in the movie, I'd say it was about half and half. And people are not always there for the whole shoot. So some people said, well, yeah, Michael Armstrong was the director, and other people were like, yeah, he was gone pretty quick, and then it was Hoven. And well, Armstrong was better at the horror, but he was very unorganized, and it would have been like his second feature, right, or second or third feature. So I don't know. It was a mess, and Hoven was kind of actually Hoven is the puppeteer. He played the puppeteer too.
He's the guy that stares off into space with the drone. I mean,
so
I
anyway,
think
it's one of those things that's impossible to tell,
Right.
Oh, I think you can feel it. I don't know if you know which one's which, but you feel that back and forth.
Yeah,
There's
It's a different feel to it.
yeah, there's an
Different
unevenness to it, but
Mhm.
it's almost part of what this film is, I guess. So, but anyway, let's. I think we should get into some of these posters.
Got a bunch of posters.
No,
This
because-
thing was a hit everywhere, at least in
Yeah.
the countries that it wasn't banned in. I don't know how many places actually banned it, but look at that! Look at that poster.
yeah.
Boy, that is a cheap ass poster, and yet it's got everything it needs. Lots of over the top hyperbole, guaranteed to upset your stomach. Wow. You wonder what is it that people look at this. Boy, hon, let's go to the theater. Oh, here's one that's guaranteed to upset your stomach, and I guess it's true because they're going to give us a vomit bag. Oh, let's call the babysitter. But
This was Hallmark Releasing that did all that, and without telling anybody. And the MPAA got pissed off at them because they were just starting up their ratings.
because
So
there
what the
actually
hell
is
is
no
this
such
V
thing as
for
V.
Rated V for violence.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of jumped the gun here. So we have, before we get into the posters and all the taglines that are on them, we might have some special feature, Jeff.
We do, as always. Oh,
Oh,
God.
Lord.
It is now time for Taglines with Chad. It's played by Chad.
By Chad this week.
This week it's
This
played
week's
really
Chad
played by
is Chad.
First tagline for Mark of the Devil is banned in many countries.
I'm not going to tell you how many, just many.
Yeah,
Many.
that's like the advisory tag they put on
Yeah.
records back in the
Yep,
day. Just
yep.
make
Mhm.
one see it. Positively the most horrifying film ever made.
Wow.
Positively.
Likely to upset your stomach.
Likely. Wow. So we went from guaranteed to likely. I see some hedging here.
Yeah. Rated
Reel it back. Reel it back.
Okay. Rated V for violence. Okay. And the last tagline, thank God, is this vomit bag and the price of one admission will enable you to see the first film rated V for violence. The very first one.
Ironically, if you had kept that vomit bag and not used it, you could probably sell it on eBay now for more than the price of admission. You would have gotten to see this movie for free.
Yeah, Doc.
And that's been
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
Pure genius.
Where did
I
that come
sprung that
from?
one on Doc.
Where did that one come from? Oh my God.
Crystal did it.
She loves it.
Nice.
That's our
Nice.
very own Crystal Cleveland.
We do have one here that we didn't have. Is due to the horrifying scenes no one admitted without a vomit bag.
Can you bring your own vomit bag?
Yeah, sure.
I did.
You could bring your
I
own
did
vomit.
not glean these for taglines. So.
Yes, yes. Here's another one. Did we have that name? Did that name come up? The
Yep,
Hexen?
yep.
It was, and I don't know where you guys lost me, but
Yeah, you read this one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I
That's
kinda like
a-
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's more
That's
artistic
the original
than the last.
German title. Yeah.
There you go. And then this one with all the
Our friends, the Japanese.
gruesome gores you can get in there. Yep,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
like to do that. So
Lots of bad things happening to women in this poster.
oh my goodness. This one looks I know it's is it Spanish? Because it looks Spanish. It's not
Italian.
Spanish, is it?
Is it
Italian.
Italian or
Italian. Yeah.
They just had great the Italians always made a good poster out of
they
it.
did.
Just-
They're always painted and they look like posters.
Yeah.
Eastman color.
Oh.
Widescreen.
And that translates to the torture of the virgins.
Mm.
I don't know that any virgins were tortured. I mean, the one girl, had sex with the devil disguised as a small donkey.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think I
On Goat Mountain.
on Goat Mountain.
On
Yeah.
Goat Mountain.
That sounds like a country song. But
I know it sounds like we're the Waltons.
I will say
Goat
the
Mountain.
artist
Next to
here,
Aaron, torture comma.
Yeah, the artist here needs to practice a little more. The guy's hands and his head and his body don't seem to be from the same person.
No.
And she doesn't look terrified. She looks more like, oh, this again. Yeah.
Look, there's actual nudity down in the bottom left.
What?
Oh, my.
I guess there is.
Oh, well, let's don't look at that anymore.
Wow, sorry.
Oh, no, just kidding.
Oh man, the parents that are letting their kids listen to our podcast about Mark of the Devil are going to be scandalized.
I know. What the heck are you doing? There's another
this
one.
I
threw this one up.
Yeah, I like it.
Build it. Well, I had to look really hard for it, but when they interviewed Herbert Fuchs, this was on the wall behind me.
I'm going to giggle every time you say that.
I know. Just keep saying it. It'll never not be funny.
But I like it. I like the hands on the sword, the broadsword, and even though he didn't have a sword,
and I like that the chain covers her bosom to keep it family friendly.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
He was a lot uglier in the movie too.
Yeah,
that's supposed to be albino. Yeah,
is that albino or is that the torture?
No, that's Herbert.
That's the hangman. That's the hangman.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
the executioner.
Oh yeah.
What an unfortunate name.
Well, maybe depends on what happened with it. And then, of course, we'll go back to the barf bag once more.
See it soon at a theater near you.
See it soon. Positively, the most horrifying.
The vomit bag says guaranteed to upset your stomach. They're not namby-pamby about it. It's likely.
Everybody, when they were interviewing these people, when they were interviewing the cast, that was like a thing they did to every one of them. They showed them the vomit bag, and none of them had ever seen it before or knew anything about it.
Really? Oh, wow.
I bet back when this movie was released, I bet people did vomit.
We look
at it. We look at it now through our eyes, but people back then, this movie was pretty brutal. When it comes to the torture and stuff like that, people
for 1970, I think, yeah.
Let's keep in mind, it was only 2 years earlier that Night of the Living Dead had come out and pretty much ushered in the new age of modern horror. Mm-hmm. So, this and things like I Drink Your Blood and those films that came out were really pretty radically pushing an envelope there. So, yeah, I wouldn't surprise me if people really did throw up.
Yeah.
This was all Hallmark releasing, and if you look up Hallmark releasing, on IMDb, it's a long list of exploitation movies, many of which that they changed the titles and came up with. I think I want to say I Drink Your Blood was one of them, but I'm not sure.
Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. All right, so the director of this film is Michael Armstrong, at least the one that gets the credit.
And some of these he wrote and some he directed. I think he directed Scream Time. I believe he wrote House of the Long Shadows. I'm pretty sure he didn't direct it because it was directed by the guy who did the Kolchak that we're going to be talking about in just a minute.
Nice. Yeah, he directed 3 films, which was Horror House, Mark of the Devil, and Scream Time. And Horror House has Frankie Avalon in it, so that's good.
Yeah, we talked about that last episode, I think.
Yeah.
I don't remember why.
Teenagers trapped in the house.
Yeah.
And
Eskimo Nell's got to be great because it's based on a classic piece of literature. So,
the bawdiest ballad ever written.
Yep.
Is that sort of like walking down Canal Street?
I don't know. It's kind of like Barnacle Bill the Sailor. It's just one of those things that goes on and on and on, and it's like the Aristocrats. It's just the most appalling. Everyone had to add their own little spin to this endless bawdy jingle. And somehow they made a movie about it that I'm sure is tame enough to be shown on the actual Hallmark channel now, but was probably racy stuff back then.
There you go.
Not a lot from this guy.
Yeah, he handles. Again, we don't know exactly which scenes he directed and which one were directed by some other individual, but I would imagine there are some really nice, well shot scenes in this. It's there's from a filmmaking side of it, there's nothing wrong with it. The only thing that you really complain about is the story itself or the the tone or something like that. But
well, I think they were worried about they were really worried about the budget, right, and going over on the shoot. And the people that did describe Hovind said that he was very systematic. He had every day scheduled out and how many shots you're going to do and everything. Apparently Armstrong didn't do that. So kind of loosey-goosey.
Tension on the set.
Loosey-goosey. Yeah, and that's not the only time we've ever heard about this kind of shenanigans, is it?
Yeah, seems like we're running into a bunch of movies like this.
Yeah.
So he the other guy, Adrian Hovind, along with being a producer and actor, he had 110 credits as acting, but he directed a film called The Castle of the Creeping Flesh in '68, A Long Swift Sword of Siegfried.
Oh God.
Mark of the Devil 2 from 1973, and Hard to Remember. So
I always
probably
heard Siegfried had a long sword.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to do Mark of the Devil 2 sometime. So look forward to, Chad.
No.
Well, maybe it's Exorcist 2 to this film's Exorcist. Who knows?
Oh, that doesn't help.
No, that doesn't help.
No. It was pretty well dumped on by everybody.
Now, because you watched the actors the scene, did they claim any of the scenes as his?
I hesitate to say because they all said different things.
Right, they were inconsistent.
Well, first they said that he did all the torture scenes. Armstrong did all the torture scenes. And I think you could look at them and see that. But what came, I don't know. I just don't buy it because it was one where it's Fuchs said it was mostly Hovind, but then they said Armstrong did all the torture scenes. Well,
yeah,
Fuchs was in most of the torture scenes, so that doesn't make sense either. So I think there was a lot of personalities going on there, and I think it's also one of those. If I say I like this guy, which will I help my career better?
Right. Yeah, we may never know.
And also, it's been 50 years, and they probably knew when they were making this that this was not going. They never imagined anyone was going to be interviewing them 50 years later about the film they were making at that time.
Yeah, right. And Armstrong does a commentary on the movie, and he's one of those British guys it's almost like a stereotype. He's sort of, he's saying stuff under his breath all the time. And I couldn't understand half the stuff he said, not because I didn't understand his pronunciation, but because they got lost in the,
I couldn't hear it.
Sort of sound.
Did he have a large walrus mustache that would go back and forth as he did that?
No.
Too bad.
He did not.
Captain Crunch stash.
But it sounded to me like
Captain Crunch.
That he was bitching about where did all this stuff come around about Hovind directed part of this movie. I directed that movie. But then I think what happened is when he thought it was done, he left. He said, I had nothing to do with the post-production. Nothing. So the editing, the music, any of that stuff, he had nothing to do with it. So I guess how does he know they didn't shoot stuff after he left?
Yeah. So, when he wasn't looking.
He's lucky they didn't put fart sounds into it like Spookies. He got off.
Oh my gosh. Fart
That's true.
Maybe there was, and we just didn't hear it. All right, Herbert Lom. Let's talk about Herbert Lom. Because I think many of us are fans of this.
I disagree with Chad. I love him. Look at this grumpy face. This guy could do it all. This guy just. Yeah, okay, yes, he's phoning it in here, but this was not a role that exactly required a lot of nuance and everything. He just had to look stern and, really freak out when people mentioned, male sexual deficiencies. So
yes.
And who knows why? Who knows what the story there is?
I found hilarious as a character flaw or character thing for him. Every time somebody mentioned, you're making the men impotent, and he would like freeze and just start shaking, and it was hilarious. I just thought that was so funny.
He probably thinks it's directed at him.
I just want to know.
Yeah.
Did you guys mention this while I was off? That Michael Reeves was supposed to direct this originally.
No, we haven't said that yet.
Yeah, they
read that.
wanted him because of Witchfinder General, and he died before.
I read that, but you know what? There's a whole bunch of movies that were supposed to be directed by Michael Reeves right before he died. So I don't know if they mentioned it to Michael Reeves. Doesn't strike me as a guy who would keep on doing the same thing. Because he only did 3 movies, so it's kind of hard. He didn't have a chance to do the same thing over and over again. But it would have shocked me after all the acclaim that he was given for Witchfinder General to then make Witchfinder General Jr. on a smaller budget. That would surprise me. Because I know he was supposed to do a couple. I think he was supposed to do one of the AIP ones. I think one of the movies that Gordon Hessler did. I can't remember which one off the top of my head now. And it just seems like his name keeps coming up. We were going to have Michael Reeves, but then he died. It's like this guy was spreading himself pretty thin.
Yeah. Well, that might be their excuse for why it's not as good as it was supposed to be.
They probably did it to help sell the movie too.
That could be
later.
So Herbert Lom, of course, has a number of roles that might fondly remember.
The Phantom of the Opera.
Worst Phantom of the Opera ever.
That one from Hammer, you think is the worst?
Yeah, the worst. In my opinion, it's the worst.
Okay.
It's the worst.
Well, he's in that. I love that. I can never remember the title of, but that segment in the portmanteau with
isn't that
Asylum?
Asylum.
Also known as House of Crazies.
And that's
and the Dead Zone in the middle.
Dead Zone.
Yep. Of course, he's in tons of genre films. Mysterious Island.
Just
and a gaggle of them through the 70s. Count Dracula, which we reviewed. Dorian Gray, Murders in the Rue Morgue. Asylum.
And let's not forget the role he's probably best known for, of course, is a comedic role. Yeah,
the Pink Panther. Yeah,
foil of the Pink Panther.
Yep.
Well, also. Was it Scream and Scream Again and Now the Screaming Starts? I always get those two mixed up.
He was in And Now the Screaming Starts.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which I was getting ready to say before we went off the Pink Panther.
Sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Look at those little dolls. They crack me up every time. Those
what's that? The from the Asylum?
Yeah, that's great.
Especially when they smush them and the little teeny guts are inside. So it's awesome. But yeah, I mean, he's got tons of credits. I think the earliest film.
Yeah, he was in Count Dracula as Van Helsing.
Yeah.
Yep.
The earliest film that I remember him in is Mysterious Island as Captain Nemo. I just remember him.
That's a
great entrance, right? Of him coming up.
Yeah. Well, also he got anything with a Bernard Herrmann score as a great entrance. I mean, that movie, I could listen just to the soundtrack to that movie. Wonderful. I agree. Phantom of the Opera is not one of Hammer's best. It didn't do as well as it should have, but I still like his version.
Yeah, the 70s he basically he approached every role with the same over the top tongue in cheekness.
Yeah.
But he did have a presence though.
Oh yeah,
absolutely had a presence.
And he's pretty subdued in the Dead Zone. I mean, he holds his own in a hell of a cast there.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I do remember seeing him at every single one of the Pink Panther movies because I'm pretty sure I saw every one of those as a kid growing up. I mean, even Shot in the Dark, he's in that. So
he does another Phantom of the Opera type in Gordon Hessler's Murders in the Rue Morgue.
Yeah,
that's a strange one.
Yeah. Great actor. I mean, I'm sorry you didn't like him, Chad. But
it's not that. I just haven't seen anything that I like him in.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, then you're consistent.
I'm sure he's a nice guy.
I'm sure he's a great guy.
He's been forever tainted by Phantom of the Opera.
There you go. All right, Udo Kier, who is still going strong.
I think I fell in love with him.
Wow.
What's that?
I think I fell in love with him.
Don't repeat it.
You know,
his eyes,
those eyebrows, the sparkly blue eyes.
Well, that's what I was saying when you were gone.
But he did have a look on his face where he looked like he didn't understand a single word anybody was saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes it didn't look like he was even paying attention.
Boy, if they could have made a movie, with John Philip Law and Udo Kier just staring into each other's eyes for like an hour and a half.
Oh my God,
would done well.
It'd just be unicorn magic going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he made a great hero, like a great. I thought he would have been just a great. Well, he kind of was, but a great hero. You know, a leading man type. You know what I'm. You know what I mean?
You know what? He should have been Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter.
Oh my God!
Oh, that would have been awesome? Great. That would have been great.
Yeah.
278 credits.
Damn.
278 credits.
And this is only his
amazing.
What, second or third role? I mean,
second primary. Second primary role.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, of course, he's dubbed, so it's always hard to judge performance, even though he spoke English.
Yeah, they did film this with the actors speaking German and another one with them speaking English. So there are
mouthing.
Yeah. Well,
but and also I believe if I heard this correctly, Herbert Lom actually had it in his contract that he had to do himself in the dubbing for both of them because he could speak German.
Oh, good for him.
He said the guy asked me, and you did your own voice, right? And he goes, well, yeah, I put it in the contract. You know, you can't trust these guys.
Oh yeah. That's a good move.
He's not wrong.
The guys who did the dubbing, the dubbing company, it was a small number of people. And so, the same guy might dub 2 or 3 characters and it might get a little broad, suddenly your voice sounds like the Jerry Lewis impersonation or something. And yeah, that kind of, because how do you judge an acting role when you don't?
And in fact, Gabby Fuchs went on to be a dubbing production manager.
Oh.
She lined up all the people to do the dubbing and coordinated everything. Yeah.
Of course, we remember Udo Kier from Blood of Dracula and Flesh for Frankenstein.
I think I have a slide.
Oh yeah, that's right. You do. I don't have it. So.
Oh well.
Okay.
Never mind.
Maybe Jeff has. Well, I don't see it, so you'll have to push it, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm looking.
But yeah, he's been in so many things: Dracula, Frankenstein,
right.
Suspiria.
Suspiria, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Osborne. What?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Sharon.
There.
Oh my God! There you go.
I forgot he was in Shadow of the Vampire. Yeah.
And that's
oh my gosh,
Blade at the top, isn't it?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh man,
a memorable demise there. Yeah.
A lot of films we probably have never gotten.
Yeah, he's the guy that's actually. Well, I think he's actually aged into being having more gravitas. Like in this movie, he feels like he's just very pretty.
New.
He's a pretty boy.
He's fresh. Yeah. And later on, he has so much more forcefulness and impact.
I mean, as goofy as Andy Warhol's Dracula was, in some ways, it almost accidentally, or not accidentally, the casting captures an element of the vampire myth that you don't see very often. The idea he's immortal, but he's old. And the way he's putting the makeup on his face and trying to make himself look like the youthful vampire that he was, even though he's not aging, he is aging. He's just aging in a different way. It's really interesting, and you wouldn't have gotten that from anyone else. So whatever else you can say about those movies, Kier he brings it.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's still making. Go ahead, Chad.
I was going to say, even like in Blade, you wouldn't. I mean, he was. They needed a formidable villain, and he was like one of the main vampire bosses, I think, in that.
Yeah.
And you see Udo Kier in that role, and it's like, oh yeah, bring it on, and
And he pops up in the damnedest places. I remember watching Armageddon, and he's got a small role as a psychologist. It's just
Armageddon.
Like, what the hell is that? Is that Udo Kier? It sure is. And
there's a meteor coming toward the.
Of course, he's he's got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 films in post production or pre production. So he's still very.
How old is he now?
Yeah, you look that up, and he recent films that you might have seen him in. It's like the Iron Sky series.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
He makes a great He plays a great Nazi. He doesn't make a great Nazi. He plays a really good Nazi.
Yes, that he does. What was the other one I was going to say? I lost it. Oh well. What was the one that I was going to say? Because there was another one I wanted to bring up.
Okay, just Doc, this is the most unhelpful thing ever. I go to IMDb. It's like, how old is this guy? He was born October 14th.
That's
it.
That's
not remotely helpful.
October 14th.
Jeez.
That's amazing.
1759.
Yeah, that could be.
1944. He is 79.
Okay.
79.
Looks pretty good for
Wikipedia
79.
Yeah.
He does.
If you have good eyes can last you a lifetime.
Yes.
You know, it really, if you've got, I don't know why. I mean, eyes are just eyes. Everyone's got eyes. They all pretty much look the same, different variations of color or whatever. But there are some people, and it's not necessarily the color. If you saw him in black and white, you'd still say, damn, that's a piercing gaze.
Yeah, because they would translate, right?
Yeah.
They would.
It's interesting. I don't know the science behind that, but
he was in how do I want to put this? He was in the Halloween that most people don't. Rob Zombie's Halloween. Let's just put it out there. He was in Rob Zombie, and and he was in the short that he made, Werewolf Women of the SS.
That's right, for Grindhouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I don't think anyone ever walked out of a movie saying, "Boy, this movie would have been a whole lot better if Udo Kier hadn't stunk up the joint."
I don't. He never does. He kind of has that.
Yeah.
That's that.
He's often
presence.
the best thing in the movie, maybe the only good thing. But
even if he just walks in, has a line, and walks away, you remember that. All right, let's talk about Reggie Nader, right? It is Reggie, right? Do I have that right? Why do I suddenly?
Nalder.
Nalder. Of course, most people remember him from what movie? What movie?
That would be Salem's Lot. I think I have a second. I think I have a second one with him with some of his too. I had to pick it. Okay, look at this. Look at this stuff. Yeah. Zoltan, Hound of Dracula, Salem's Lot. Where you look at him, you realize, okay, this is a minimal amount of makeup we got to put on this guy. A bald cap wig is about all we really, and some fangs, and famous as
contacts.
Were those the Andorians? Well, what were the aliens?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think you're right. But when I was looking at his credits and it said Star Trek, I went, "Oh, he's that guy." I mean, you know right away which one he was, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
now, does anyone know that one in the middle? That picture in the middle.
Is it? I was going to say. Willy
Wonka.
No, I'm going to give up. It's a. Oh shit. Go ahead. You tell me.
Well, shit. Yeah, it's fine. It's from Dracula Sucks. He was convinced to be in a movie, a Dracula horror movie, and little did he know that it was a porno movie. Now, he doesn't do any porno scenes, thank God. But he's basically leading all these adult film actors around and talking stuff and everything. You can see it's pretty well filmed. And then they cut to the porno stuff. But this movie is so well produced that there's several versions of it, including one that cuts out all the hardcore. So it was a decent enough. It's not great, but it was a decent enough movie on its own right that you could cut out all the hardcore X stuff and still have enough movie to release it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Bird with a Crystal Plumage too.
Oh yeah.
But what an iconic
vampire
from Salem's Lot.
Oh, he'll always be remembered for that, right? So
I think he single-handedly resurrected the Nosferatu idea, and that was a great, because Dracula at that time was pretty
well. They remade Nosferatu at the same time.
That's right.
Yep.
So I'd say of vampires, they kind of come in a lot of different flavors, but the two main ones are the Frank Langella, Bela Lugosi, Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
And then this rodent-like pestilence. He was a good actor. Now, he's not a handsome leading man type. He obviously suffered some burns at some point in his life. That's permanent scarring that he has there. They didn't need any makeup for him. And he took those lemons and made lemonade. He's an imposing, scary figure.
This is probably the most dialogue I've seen him have. This is the biggest role I personally have seen him have, and I thought he held his own very well.
He did a good job as a bad guy. He was despicable in every way, and he made you believe he was too.
Yeah. I was really impressed. I actually was impressed with him in this role. Because
Now,
I always
that little rat Fink on to the left there in the middle picture.
yeah, this little buddy always fucked up things for him, or
Yeah.
sorry, fuked things up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Stop
God, I
puking
forgot he
things
was
out.
the man who knew
Cat,
too
what
much.
did you do? Did my cat suddenly freeze everything here? God.
Yeah, you're frozen. You've been a big smile on your face for about an hour now.
It hurts. It's starting to hurt like around my ears. I'm gonna
Well,
leave and come back.
So he was also in Hitchcock's The Man Who Knew Too Much and The Manchurian Candidate. Playing your basic assassins.
I did like his outfit, sort of Captain Hookish in a way.
Yeah, I love that picture at the top with him pointing and that little, I don't know what he.
They call that the mark. That was the mark of the devil, wasn't it? Because every time they'd stick it in something, let's see if the mark of the devil.
Yep.
Well, little things like moles and things like that were considered marks of the devil, and so why he was apparently he was creating them.
There I am.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So he has burns as Bill was mentioning, that scar, the lower third of his face. But he has given at least 3 different explanations. So nobody really it's like the Joker from
wow.
From Dark Knight, right? You just never know nobody knows what really happened.
I read an interview with him, and he comes across as a really nice guy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people that were there, some of the people said he was very nice. Oh my God. This is a prophetic quote from Reggie Nalder. I hated working with Bill Cosby. He is a pig.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I first
met him in Rome, where I did an episode of I Spy. Bill Cosby is rude, arrogant, and very untalented. He walked right by me on the set as if I were a piece of furniture. I tried to be polite, but he made it impossible.
Wow. Nice quote. I like it.
Yep.
I like
Good
it.
call, Reggie.
Yes.
Yep. He knew. Good judge of character.
He passed away in 1991. Which would have made him 80 years old, 84. Yeah, he died of bone cancer in the U.S. Even though he was born and raised in Vienna, Austria.
Yeah, his scarring wasn't enough. They had to slice the other side of his face too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. They did. They slices. All right, let's talk about our I guess our lead actress
Vanessa.
here.
Yeah.
Who
doesn't get her tongue ripped out. So
yes. But
she's the liberated one of the.
She is very liberated compared to the rest of these.
She doesn't take any crap, and it doesn't matter what they're going to do to her. You know,
that's right.
Nope.
I liked her. I did like her a lot in this. I liked her character a lot. I felt like I kept waiting. I mean, at the end. For her to turn out to really be a witch.
I was too. I was waiting.
And after they killed Udo Kier, she takes her revenge out on. That's what I thought was going to happen. But
I was waiting for it too.
You know,
cool.
That would have been cool, but I'm glad they didn't, because that would have kind of undercut the evil. One of the problems with these movies is when, they have these evil witch finders and they're terrible and we're rooting for their demise, but then, a witch comes along and takes their revenge. But that's like, okay, so those guys were right. Maybe their methods were wrong. And they probably weren't terribly good at finding witches. They were killing the wrong people, but there were witches.
I'd have been good with that.
So this just hit me too. The cute little blonde boy, the son of the puppeteers.
Mm-hmm.
That was Hoven's son. His name was Percy Hoven. But I love the way he leaped on that.
Oh yeah, and he was kicking him in the shins.
Oh man, he just leaped right on his head and started.
Of course, the kid's angry. He had to grow up with the name Percy Hoven.
Better than Herbert Fuchs.
Nice.
Well,
is it though? Is it? All right. Okay, so to get kind of back to the what Chad and I think many of us were thinking that that one girl was going to end up being a real witch and it was going to go south at that point, but it didn't. There actually was an original ending to this that was filmed that was going to be far more supernatural.
Yes.
And but they didn't like it. They destroyed the footage.
Wow.
Armstrong described it, and as far as he knew, it was going to be in there, but then he wasn't involved in the editing, and according to him, Hovind destroyed it.
Destroyed the negatives. The only thing we know of it are a couple like stills.
Shot a couple stills. I believe he said that the dead were going to start rising and walking, but I couldn't quite figure out. He had some reasoning behind all of this, but
they're all burned up.
I couldn't quite follow it.
That's a cool ending. I mean, it's been used and would be used again, but that's a kind of cool ending. Boy, this thing about destroying the negative, it's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. You're a low budget, cheap ass European horror movie maker. Keep any footage you have and just stick it into another film.
Sounds
you
like
don't even have to pay the actors. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of bitterness.
The Rise from the Dead, that reminds me, Hallmark distributed Tombs of the Blind Dead and what's the Manchester?
Oh, Living Dead at Manchester Morgue.
Yeah. Only they called it "Don't Open the Window."
Don't open the window.
Yeah, I remember that.
Perfect.
Did these
or let the sleeping dead lie or something like that?
Yeah.
Another time.
Did
that was another one.
Last House on the Left, because one thing about a lot of the films, because they also reuse the "keep telling yourself it's only a movie."
Yes, they use that.
What a great line, though. I mean, that's great. All right, so I guess one thing everybody gorehounds are all wanting to know is, all right, there's torture.
There we go.
And it's effective.
It is.
It's effective. There's a variety of it, usually for no damn good reason.
Yep. You know why this works? It's because we can relate to it. Everyone's bitten their tongue accidentally. It's you show someone getting chainsawed in half, it's just an effect, and you can't relate to it. God knows you can't relate to it. But you show someone slamming a car door on their hand, or they're shoving bamboo slivers under your fingernails. That's visceral. You can imagine what that feels like because you've probably had something similar happen to you.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what this is all about too. It's a fairly simple thing, and it's a pretty simple effect that they do. You put enough red food coloring on a tongue and it looks like it's been ripped out.
So
it worked.
My dad threatened to do this to me many times on many occasions.
Yeah. Well, and Lam's order is to rip it out by the root. So we're not cutting it out.
They had to show the little root too.
She said Gabby Fuchs said the tongue was a calf's tongue, and maybe exaggerating just a little bit, but she said it'd been lying around for about a week and it had a real pungent odor. And I'm like, oh my God, and they put it in your mouth to pull it out.
I wouldn't be surprised if you hear stories about that. I mean, even Day of the Dead has stories about that.
Oh, yeah.
So
Blood Feast, same story. They soaked it in pine salt to try to get rid of the rancid odor.
Oh my God. But they have a lot of various scenes of torture, and I don't know. For me, it earns its reputation, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, films have gone past it since then.
Sure.
I mean, Saw is
hostile.
more graphic.
Saw, any of those.
Right. And I mean, maybe even some of the films in the 70s, 80s went further than this, but 1970, I can imagine.
It wasn't even mid.
The 10 year 1970, and if 10-year-old Bill Mulligan had made it to the drive-in to see this, I think
traumatized for life. Yeah. But I would have been the hero of the playground.
US, right?
If I could have walked in on a Monday to the playground at Saugerties Grammar School, Grant D. Morse Grammar School, and said, "Who's got two thumbs and saw Mark of the Devil this weekend?" That's right. My Uncle Johnny took me there.
You'd have been the hero of the week, wouldn't you?
Oh, they would have just, I would have been like a guru sitting on the grass with everyone around me. Tell us, did she really get her tongue ripped out? Oh man, she had her tongue ripped out twice, man. I don't even know. It grew back and they ripped it out again. And I would have just made up stuff.
So you wouldn't have seen it anyway.
Look, I got the vomit bag to prove it, because I'd have to bring the vomit bag or no one would believe me.
Right, of course.
Oh, I wish that had been real.
A couple of comments from Herbert Fuchs about the directors. He said that Armstrong was only there for a short time, a third to a half, and that his style was ideally suited to the horror genre, and that Hoban finished the film once Armstrong left, but didn't significantly alter Armstrong's style because he had laid out the groundwork. And said that Herbert Lom's scenes were all shot in the beginning. And so anyway, he probably was the highest paid one, showed up, did all him.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Yeah, thank
you. And I wanted to mention the music too, though. You guys mentioned it. The composer is Michael Holm, and he was a very interesting guy in the interview on the Blu-ray. He was a pop songwriter in France, and had a bunch of hits. And just about the time this came out, he didn't want to be a singer, but somebody told him some song was going to be perfect for him, and so he did it. And he got what do you get, a gold record or platinum record? It was a 2 million seller, something like that. It was a big hit in Europe. But the thing that I thought was really funny, he didn't, that intro piece, that is not what he wanted. There's sort of a march type music for when Herbert Lom rides into town, heavier. That's what he thought should have been the opening scene, because it would give you a better feel of where the movie was going. Whereas the opening music is just
sounded like game show music.
Well, it sounded like a pop song writer wrote it, kind of, to me. Well, the thing that was really funny is he said somebody told him about this later, and he went and checked it out. The intro music for Hobo with a Shotgun is that music.
Okay. See,
Go turn it on at Hulu, and it's absolutely there.
I mean, you shouldn't do it every time, but I think there's a kind of genius in having this music that totally sets a certain mood. Although that is inappropriate. You came to see Mark of the Devil, and they gave you a vomit bag. Okay, so you know what you're in for. And now this music comes on.
True. That's true.
And that creates, it's like, this tension, what's going on. And then we immediately follow it with a bunch of nuns being raped. So you are being pulled in all kinds of directions here. I think that's very
I thought
clever.
the torture music, the violins kind of scraping and screeching, I thought those were great. I thought that was absolutely great. Anyway, that's all. I just wanted to mention him.
Yeah, it definitely classes up this joint.
I do want to mention Gabby Fuchs again.
Of course, she does,
Mom.
Just so I can say that. No, she's the blonde that's in the main picture and all that. That's her, right? She is in one of my favorite werewolf films of the 70s.
What?
Do you know which one it is? The Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman. She's the blonde lead, the one that is, the
girlfriend
object of the girlfriend of the werewolf. Yeah, she's not Countess Wadisa, but
no.
or Darvula. I guess
that's cool. Good for her.
Which was the lead female role, despite the vampire woman. She's not the vampire woman. But anyway,
I think that's a Vinegar Syndrome 4K Ultra HD too.
What's that? Really?
The Wolfman versus the Vampire.
That's a pretty good movie, actually.
It's a great movie. I mean, it's in my head. It's a great movie. Is it actually a great movie? Well, it's
got a cool werewolf and it's got a cool vampire woman. That's really all I expect from a movie called The Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman.
And it makes use of it so much so they remade it in 1980. So.
Yeah, well,
there you go. All right, so with that, I'm done with the cast. Anybody else want to say anything about the cast members? Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Herbert Lom sucks.
Oh, no. So, all right. So we would love to hear your thoughts on this film. Did you see this when it originally came out, or did you see it before it became VHS?
In other words, are any of you older than me?
I'm sure some monster kids out there saw it.
Someone probably conned their older brother or whatever to taking. Yeah, kid, I'll take you. Just
Oh, of course.
You got to give me all your allowance for a week, and you can't tell mom and dad.
we're going to the drive-in. You got to take your little brother. They don't know what movie they're going to go
That's
see.
right. That's right. Yeah.
And they would just sneak in, put them all in the
Think
trunk.
you're taking him to go see the Apple Dumpling Gang rides again, and you're taking him to
Oh
see
my
Mark
gosh.
the Devil.
Oh my gosh. No love bugs here. All right. Please leave some comments down below. We'd love to hear what you think of this movie, what you think of the cast, and what you think of what we thought about the movie. I'm sure we messed something up. I'm sure of it.
Well, just to throw this out there too, because we've been talking about this a lot lately. It was a video nasty as well.
Yeah, we mentioned that. Yeah, I think you were out when we
thing.
talked about it.
Yeah.
It was also banned in Germany, and it's one of the few
okay.
films that were unbanned in Germany. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
We mentioned that too, I think.
Yep. So anyway, yeah, that's our review. Check it out. It's available out there for free in various sources, and it's unique. And find yourself one of those barf bags. You'll love it. All right. We just want to mention real quick before we get to feedback that on our Patreon account, our patrons are well, how do I want to say this? Recently, we just began reviewing each and every episode of Old Chat, the Night Stalker. There's on my shirt. And we are 2 or 3 episodes in. I don't know how many we put out there yet. We are doing, 2 a month, so 20 episodes. We'll be doing it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And
the third one went out 2 days ago.
Was it the third one?
As we record this, yeah.
All right. And we're having a blast revisiting this. And we hope that our patrons enjoy it and encourage us to do something else when we're done with this experiment, because I love revisiting these old 70s TV shows as well as the movies and the TV movies. So check if you're interested, check it out. It's I think the $2 gets you in the door, and you can check them out. All right. With that said, Jeff Mohr, we have feedback.
Yeah. And you also get Decades of Horror within a couple of days of when it's recorded, which is usually like 10 to 12 days before it's released live. But that's only if we record on schedule. And lately we haven't been recording on schedule very often.
Schedules are for losers.
Yeah, schedules are for losers. Okay, feedback. My favorite guy now. I gotta find out more about this guy. I'm just going to read this first one. Robert Mueller comments once again on episode 192. Let's scare Jessica to death when we interviewed John D. Hancock, the director.
Oh, nice.
Now he's been saying quotes and things from the movie. Now he says, I should buy the Jessica house and preserve it for posterity. I just don't like its surprising proximity to that freeway. So I don't know about the freeway, but anyway,
and why is it so
surprising? Thank you again, Robert Mueller. Robert Mueller, 2023.
Yeah. He's
All
a young
right,
guy.
Now we have a couple from the Alien Factor, episode 216. And this one's from Jerry Chandler. So I don't know. I'm saying Doc, or not Doc, Bill. Apparently Doc says
Sure.
Bill is going to read this one. So.
I think Bill should.
Yeah. Our friend Jerry Chandler says of the Alien Factor, yes! many exclamation points. Don Dohler was part of growing up as a geek in the early days of the 1980s cable and VHS, when early cable was content hungry and trying to grab anything they could to get on their channels. Don actually got his films picked up. And of course, as soon as they hit home video, the mom and pop video store near me that catered more to horror and sci-fi stocked his films. Alien Factor was back then an absolute blast. It looked like everywhere US, and an alien crashed his ship there and unleashed a horde of alien monsters. And it still has that feeling today, especially since this wasn't the appearance of Sheriff Cinder, where the actors insisted on the nude love scene. I'm warning you, when you get to Galaxy Invader on Decades of Horror 1980s, you will need some eye bleach.
Eye bleach.
No lies detected.
Wow.
Watching Alien Factor now, and I do own the Blu-ray, you can see a lot of the flaws. Yeah, it was filmed for no budget and largely in Don Dohler's backyard. Yeah, it's a film filled mostly with guys and gals Don knew and could wrangle into it. But damn it, even now you watch the movie and it feels like almost everyone involved was trying to do everything they could to make a movie, and they had fun doing it. Still has that vibe about it, and that vibe comes through when you watch it. Blood, Boobs, and Beast is a wonderful documentary, but as Bill noted, it's bittersweet. You could feel that he was growing less enamored with the whole thing once the push to get more and more nudity and sex just to get distribution happened. And then seeing the early cancer period in his life on top of that just hurt. It has a lot of Joe Ripple, Scares That Care, in it as well. He became Don's filmmaking partner for a long while. Loved the episode. Thank you, Jerry.
Cool. Thanks, Jerry.
Oh, so Joe Ripple does the Scares That Care?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
I think that's where I met George Stover. Actually, now that makes perfect sense now.
So I watched Blood, Boobs, and Beast after you recommended it. It's on Tubi, I think, and it's very interesting, and it kind of explains the stuff he had to go through in making a movie like that. And then I also found we kind of talked about Alien Factor 2, and I found that on Daily Motion and watched it. And you can immediately tell it's a Don Dohler film because he starts like 4 different plot lines at once.
Yeah.
Introduces tons of characters, and then they kind of merge and everything. So
it's technically better made, but it doesn't have the charm of
right.
Alien Factor.
Exactly. I would agree with that comment. So anyway, all right. And we also have one from Mikey Z. Chad or Doc on Alien Factor?
I'll read it. Mikey Z says, dig in deep, folks. Dallas, I dare you to put that glass down. Progeria. From an extra low-budget Jaws sort of plot point ripoff, Don Dohler puts together this tale of bad acting, bad script, bad effects, extremely badly edited alien invasion flick. The creatures weren't bad if you're 8 years old. This is the definition of an average Joe film. No, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I don't think. But hey, Dohler got the film made and distributed. Love the VW Beetle police vehicle. Watching this and all this walking in the woods, I was able to put 20,000 steps in watching it. Christopher Walken doesn't do more daily walking.
Huh.
I see what you're doing.
Wow. Okay.
As Bill mentioned, watch the cinematic Titanic version to make it easier to swallow. Check that. A 5-pound bag of sugar couldn't make this easier to swallow. Nod to the recently departed Richard Sherman. Doc hit the nail on the head about worse looking creatures in better quality films. And Jeff, intervention again. You do not need the Blu-ray.
Well, actually,
oh no.
it pays to know people. One of our listeners, I'm not sure he wants me to give his name away, had 2 copies of the Blu-ray.
Oh, wow.
He is sending me one of them. So.
Donated a copy. Well, thank you, whoever you are. That's awesome.
Oh, you know who it is. Anyway.
Sure I do.
Yeah. And finally from Jose on Alien Factor. Doctor.
Jose says, when I read the schedule for the month, I saw this one and was sure I'd seen it. Nope. I think I mixed the title up with a TV movie I saw probably 78 or 79. The opening shot has 2 aliens and a really low rent spaceship set, and they're both kind of look like Daleks, organic Daleks. No, I mispronounced Daleks for some reason. No idea of the title. I like movies like this one. Not very good, but lots of fun to watch. And to their credit, they made a film. They
sure did.
That they did.
Any idea what movie he's talking about?
He says the opening shot, 2 aliens really low rent spaceship, and they both kind of look like Daleks.
Not sure.
Well,
until he said that, I was thinking Laser Blast, but
yeah,
I think it's something else that looks like Daleks. Those are the ones that are murder, right? The little little R2D2 look, exterminate, right? The little R2D2 looking things up.
Yeah, with like a toilet plunger sticking out.
Yes, the toilet. Yes, okay. So what would that be?
I don't know. There were some Mexican sci-fi horror movies with aliens. I'll have to think about it.
That could be.
Willy Wonka.
All right, that's it for reader
Get your answer to
feedback.
everything.
Please leave your feedback. We love going through the feedback and hearing what our listeners, viewers think about the movies, if they've seen it, what their experience was, what we missed, what we got wrong is okay too. Except Chad won't pay any attention to it. So please send us feedback, comments on our Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, or you can send feedback to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com.
That you can. All right, next episode, which is 2 weeks, we have my pick. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Ready.
We are going to do Vengeance.
Vengeance.
We are going to do Vengeance of the Zombies from 1973.
All right.
Do you guys know?
That sounds like
about
something.
this?
Is there a Voldemort character in there? Or
Voldemort. Maybe.
Voldemort?
It is a Paul Naschy film from 73. It is full of monsters, and it's. I hope you guys will like it. It's Naschy. It's full
I've
Naschy.
become a big fan of Paul Naschy since we started doing some of these films. And
Really?
yeah.
Well, you got to, you know, as we do more and more of these, when you think about these guys who were he was the guy in Spain, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Now it doesn't help that the first one we did was universally considered maybe his worst film. So I don't know how that we lucked into that particular thing, but
and the only reason we're waiting on Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman is because we want a good copy, and the only bad copies are out there. There's got to be a good copy sitting somewhere.
there's got to be. I'm surprised. Did you check? I thought I found one once. Okay.
Well, we'll have to. If we find it, we're doing it. We have to.
It has to be out there because I'm telling you, one of these videos. I don't know if it was Vinegar Syndrome or not, but I do have what's called a 4K. I haven't watched it yet because I'm waiting until when we pick it of Wolfman versus the Vampire Women.
Oh my gosh, it's got to be.
Tell the viewers that.
So if there's a Blu-ray out there, there's got to be a decent copy available somewhere.
Yeah.
So what did we forget to tell the viewers, Chad?
I forgot to tell them that every time Jeff says Vinegar Syndrome, take a shot.
Yes. All right.
I'm trying to figure out where that name comes from. I just.
Well, it has something to do with how they used to do film. I used to know the answer to this, but my old brain can't remember.
Okay.
I think every time Jeff says Vinegar Syndrome should send him a check.
I think when actual film gets old, it turns into this vinegary. It gets a vinegary smell to it or something.
Yeah.
Get it.
I tried to order a bunch of stuff from them the other day, and I got totally confused by it's this third volume is coming out, and if you order the third volume, the first two are half price. So I looked at them, and the first two were on sale, so I'm thinking half price on that, and the other ones. And then when I racked it all up and hit order, it cost a lot more than what I thought. And so I sent them an email and said I made a mistake. Can I cancel this order? Oh, well, what can we do for you? To keep this order. And I said, well, you could drop it and only charge me what I thought it was going to cost. Or I could even do reviews of it and plug you guys. But they ignored me after that.
They ignored you.
Your order's canceled.
Yeah. Nice try.
Oh my God.
It was worth a shot.
Oh my. All right. Well, with that, Jeff, Chad, and Bill, I thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun, as always.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
All right.
It was a shot in the dark. It paid off.
Great pick.
Oh,
Great
nice reference. Let's get out of here. Let's say goodnight.
Good night,
everybody.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.